Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Ask Truth Apologetics. I see a couple people in the chat already. What do Muslims know too? What's up, buddy? I see you made reference to Jay Apologetics. I don't know if he's here. I've not seen him on the stream or not, but if you are here, Jay, hey, welcome. Big fan of your channel. Just JP 300, who was 200 a couple of days ago. Welcome, brother. We are going to have a cool debate today. So I've got my buddy here, Mustafa Speaks. We're going to be debating the question: was Muhammad a true prophet? So I'm just going to lay out a little bit of kind of our debate format, and we're going to do opening statements up to 10 minutes apiece. Then we're going to have two rebuttal periods where we have 5 minutes up to 5 minutes apiece on that, and then we're going to move into an audience Q&A period. So once we get into that second rebuttal, if you guys do have questions you would like to ask myself or Mustafa, please feel free to at me with it so I can see your statement there. And then we'll just do a 5 minute closing statement. So it should be a fairly quick debate, guys. I don't think this would take much longer than 1 hour. So we'll try to jam pack all the information into it. And that's pretty much all I have to say here. So the other person that you hear on your screen, actually, let me add him to the thing, is Mustafa Speaks is the name of his YouTube channel. So I will let you, Mustafa, say a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your channel. And then since you are on the affirmative side, we will let you take us off from there. So tell everybody about yourself, man.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. I'm a Muslim. I defend Islam. I critique Christianity, and all of that. I have a YouTube channel where I upload my um, things, where I upload videos that refute um, attacks on Islam um, and all of that. So, with that being said, I guess I'll just begin my opening statement.
Yep. Whenever you start, I'll hit the timer, brother.
Okay. So the topic of today is Prophet Muhammad a true prophet? I believe this is a very good topic because this topic is not debated much. I believe it's a very underrated topic. So I'm happy to debate. Um, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is the final prophet of God, and like all other prophets, his mission was to preach one God and to emphasize obedience. Um, and he was given the Quran as being a preserved word of God. The prophet lived in the full light of history because his followers well preserved the details of his life and teachings. Muslims believe that Muhammad was a chosen man by God and he was not divine. The continuous um, things between prophet and God was the core of his life. He started his day and ended it with and he ended it with exalting God's praises. The five prayers were the most profound worship in his life. They were spiritual stations that comforted him and renewed and enhanced his strength. Um, and um, and he used to say to Bilal, who was he used to say to him, "Go and make the call." Um, um, uh, um, 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 um,
I'll give you a second, buddy. No worries. I'll pause the time.
Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Okay.
Okay.
So he used to say to Bilal, to make the call for prayer. Um, he also used to pray in privacy at home in the depth of night throughout his life. This devotion and love of God are one of the proofs of his prophethood, never have been made by an impostor. The Prophet Muhammad taught Muslims decency, integrity, sense of self restraint, patience, forgiveness, and respect for one another. He taught his followers to do their work perfectly until the last moment of life. Also, he taught us to love others as they love themselves. He taught us um um he taught us humility, purity, decency, austerity, refinement, and devotion. No man ever in history has been so beloved and followed in all aspects of his life like Prophet Muhammad. More than 1.6 billion Muslims from all over the globe love, adore, and follow him. He is present in their thoughts and he is alive in their hearts. So, with all that being, I know that you have some um, disagreements with this, and I will be happy to hear um, all the arguments that you have against his prophethood, um, and and I'll be ready to answer each one. Um, and I think that this is a very good thing. I think that it's a good thing that the people in the audience get to choose for themselves of their truth, their their salvation to God. Um, and I don't think I have anything else to say. I'm just waiting for your argument. So
Okay.
I guess.
All right. Thank you, sir. Let me get my timer up here and started. All right. So, according to the Quran, Muhammad came to confirm the scriptures that were sent down before him, which is the Torah, the Psalms, and the Gospel. Those are specifically mentioned. Since Muhammad is supposedly continuing the biblical message, we ought to see what the definition of a prophet is according to biblical criteria. But first, we're going to look at the Encyclopedia Britannica and see what it has to say about the Hebrew word prophet and what it exactly means. So, the Hebrew word most used for prophet is navi, which is a loan word from the word nabu. And these words mean to proclaim, to mention, to call, and to summon. Other Hebrew words that were used are Jose and Ro. So sorry if I mispronounced these Hebrew words. And they both mean seer, right? So this would qualify someone as a prophet, but I'm going to ask all of us to ask, am I a prophet if I do all of these things? Well, I don't think so. So what we're actually asking today is, what is a true prophet? So we're going to go to the Torah in Deuteronomy 13, verses 1 to 4. I'm just going to read what it says. If a prophet stands up in your midst, or a dreamer of dreams, and he gives you a sign or wonder, and the sign or the wonder comes about that he spoke to you, saying, "Let us go after other gods, those whom you have not known, and let us serve them," you must not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer, for Yahweh, your God, is testing you to know whether you love Yahweh with all of your heart and with all of your inner self. You should go after Yahweh, your God, and him you shall serve. In the New Testament, Jesus actually warns us about people like that. He says in Matthew 24:11, many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. Jesus also says in Matthew 7:15, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. Paul tells Timothy in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1, now the Spirit expressly says that in the latter times some will depart from the faith by devoting themselves to deceitful spirits and teachings of demons. The longest living disciple and the disciple who Jesus loved had a lot to say about false prophets. In 1 John chapter 4 verse 1, he says, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone into the world." John gives us the criteria in which we should test the spirits. In 1 John 2:22 to 23, he says, "This one, a false prophet, who denies the Father and the Son is an antichrist. No one who denies the Son can have the Father. He who confesses the Son has the Father as well." So, since the Quran says that Muhammad is supposedly a true prophet who came to affirm previous scriptures, let's examine these four criteria points. A true prophet must follow the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible has a name, and his name is Yahweh. In the Greek, Yahweh is literally translated as ego I me, but it's also translated as Kyrios. Point number two, a true prophet must not follow deception. Point number three, a true prophet must not follow the teachings of demons. Point number four, a true prophet must profess the Son, who is Jesus, in order to have the Father. So, based on those four criteria that are found in the Bible, the same Bible that the Quran affirms, let's see if Muhammad meets this challenge. So, point number one, a true prophet must follow God, whose name is Yahweh or Ego Ami or Kyrios. And Allah is the name of the God of the Quran, not any of those biblical names. Not only in the names of the Quran, but also in the 99 names that Allah is known by. None of them are known by the God of the Bible. So immediately we can already prove after point one that Muhammad is a false prophet. But we can keep going. In the earliest biographies of Muhammad by Ibn Ashaq, al-Waqidi, and Tafsir al-Tabari, they all report that Muhammad received revelation telling his followers and the pagans that were with them to bow down to Alut and Al-Uzza, right? So these are definitely other gods, only to find out later in these early stories that it was Satan who had revealed it. Apparently, Satan meets the Quran's challenge of producing a surah like it, since Muhammad did not actually know the difference between what Satan said and what Allah said. Point number two, a true prophet must not follow deception. As mentioned above, Muhammad was tricked by Satan into polytheism, but it gets worse. In Quran, chapter 4, verse 157, it says that Jesus was not killed nor crucified, but it only appeared to everyone that he was, right? Then it says that Allah was the orchestrator of that deception, and then says Allah is the best of the deceivers. Number three, a true prophet must not follow the teachings of demons. So if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and looks like a duck, it's probably a duck. In Muhammad's first revelation in Sahih Bukhari 3392, this came about as a result of an unnamed and unannounced spirit who attacked Muhammad physically and assaulted him in a cave. After the event was over, Muhammad ran down the mountain terrified into his house and begged his wife to cover me, because he feared that something terrible might happen to him. Later, the creature who physically assaulted Muhammad is called Gabriel or Jibril. But when we read about all the encounters of Gabriel in the Bible, and we see he has never laid his hands on anyone, and when people were afraid when he appeared to them, he always gave them comfort by saying, "Fear not." This imposter Gabriel is clearly not the biblical Gabriel. So Muhammad followed a demon. Point number four, a true prophet does not deny the Son. Not only does the Quran say in multiple locations that Allah has no son, it also repeats that Allah is a father to no one. Muhammad fails as a prophet here too. So on all 4 points, Muhammad cannot be a prophet. How can the Quran claim that it is a confirmation of what is found in the Torah, the Gospel, and the Psalms when the Bible clearly demonstrates that Muhammad is a false prophet. Either the Quran is wrong and therefore not from God, which makes Muhammad a false prophet, or the Quran is correct and the Bible falsifies it, which therefore makes the Quran incorrect and Muhammad still a false prophet. So either way, Muhammad is a false prophet. But for argument's sake, let's judge Muhammad's prophethood by the criteria laid out in the Quran. The Quran says that Muhammad is not a prophet. In fact, it says that he is but a mere warner in chapter 67, verse 26. A simple warner cannot be a true prophet. But let's grant it anyway for the sake of argument. The Quran also says that if Muhammad were to reveal a false revelation, aka prove himself to be a false prophet, that Allah would cut his aorta. And that's chapter 69:46. In an ironic twist of fate, Muhammad says to his child bride Aisha before his death, I feel as if my aorta is being cut. And we can find that in Sahih Bukhari 44:28. Muhammad is a failed prophet by biblical standards and by the Quran standards, but we can go further. Paul is echoing the words of Jesus when he says that there will be false prophets who are outwardly like sheep, yet inwardly are ravenous wolves. He says in 2 Corinthians, but I am afraid lest somehow, as the serpent deceived Eve and by his craftiness, your minds may be led astray from the sincerity and purity of devotion to Christ. For if one who comes proclaims another Jesus that we have not proclaimed, or you receive a different spirit which you have not received, or a different gospel which you did not accept, you have put up with it well enough. Muhammad teaches a different Jesus. He teaches that the name of Jesus, which is actually a transliteration of Esau, not Yeshua, so we have a different name, aka a different Jesus. Muhammad preaches a different gospel, a gospel that does not include Christ's death by crucifixion on the cross, his atoning sacrifice, forgiveness of sins, and his resurrection. Muhammad preaches a different name, a different gospel, and it's almost as if the Holy Spirit knew that the satanic cult called Islam would arise and test the faithfulness of Christians. So Muhammad failed to meet the criteria for the Bible to be a true prophet. He failed to meet the Quranic criteria to be a true prophet. And Muhammad did, however, succeed in meeting the criteria of being a false prophet. And therefore, Muhammad is a false prophet. All right, let me set this for 5 minutes. And whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer. You there, buddy?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm set a lot, so I'm gonna have to go through.
That's fine. That's why we get two rebuttal periods.
Okay. Now the first thing you said is that. Okay. So okay, the first thing that you said is that Quran it confirms the Bible. Actually, the Quran it confirms what is true in the Bible, as it says in Quran chapter 5 verses 47. Let the Christians judge by what God has revealed in the gospel, by what God has sent down in it. And in Quran chapter 5 verses 48, it says that the Quran is the ultimate judge and judge over falsehood and truth in the previous scriptures. And you can also read that in Quran chapter 3 verses 3 to 4. So it confirms the truth in the Bible, not the whole thing, because as we know that the previous scriptures, they were tampered with, as it says in Quran chapter 5 verses 13 through 14 through 15, those verses. So there's that. Okay. Now you quoted Paul in your speeches and all that, where Paul speaks about false prophets and Paul speaks about Jesus's in Gospels. When the same Paul that you quoted about Satan, if you read two, if you read two Corinthians 12 verses 7, it says that Paul was given a messenger from Satan, and that is the same Paul that you went to call Prophet Muhammad a false prophet. Now, moving on to the verses. Satanic verses. Now, you went to Ibn Ishaq and Al-Tabri. Now, the problem with that is that Al-Tabri is not a hadith book. Al-Tabri is a sourcing book. If you just read the introduction, it says that it includes false, and um, weak, false, and authentic narrations with chains on them. So that is what his book is. It's a sourcing book. So so the hadith which you quoted for the satanic verses, it actually comes from a mursal chain, which means its chain is disconnected. That's what it means. So it means that it's it's a weak chain. It's not reliable because the hadith is mursal. Okay, now moving on to your next point. Okay, now you brought up that when the prophet had received his first revelation, that he was fearful, right? And then you went the Bible.
It's all right, brother. Take your time.
Uh,
I'll
I'm
pause the
back.
time for. I'll give you extra time,
I'm back.
dude.
I'm
So
back.
no
Okay.
worries.
Okay. Oh, my mic is cutting out. Okay. And then you went onto the Bible where it says that the angels, when they came, they all said, hello. Sorry, my mic's
No,
cutting
it's
out.
okay. It's okay. Take your time, man.
Okay. Okay. The angels, they all said, fear not, right? So, why would the angels be saying, fear not, if the person that they're speaking to is not fearing them, right? So, even with in the Bible, the angels had to tell the people, not to fear them. Okay, the next point that you brought up is in Quran chapter 66, where it reads that if um if the prophet had told a lie, then they would have cut his.
Looks like his call dropped off here, guys. We'll see if he just had a bad connection. I'll try to call him back. Looks like he's not able to connect there. It says call declined. I'm going to send up a message here real quick. We may need to kind of reschedule this, y'all. I'm sorry about that. Like I said in the text, he has a little bit of a speech impediment. I know sometimes it's challenging. Some days are worse than others. Um, so let's give him by a let's give him some good prayers and make sure that he feels good and comfortable with this. Hopefully we can reconvene here. Um, if not, then maybe he will want to reschedule. But I don't want to leave you guys all hanging here, so I'll give him a couple of minutes. I will at least address a little bit of what he said. Give him obviously the opportunity on his channel to reply in his own time. I'm gonna give him a call here again really quickly. See if he's available. Looks like it's not really connecting. Says he's offline. Okay. So yeah, I'll just kind of give a brief rebuttal to kind of some of the points that he made here, guys. I'll be happy to take any questions that you guys might have. And otherwise, I'll try to be in contact with him so we can reschedule this if this is something that he is interested in doing. Let me take this down here. See if this is something that he's interested in doing. So and everybody, thank you for being kind to him. It's very nice of you guys to be praying on his behalf. So one of the things that he said, I'll just kind of read through kind of the stuff that I had. He mentioned that Muhammad preached one God, obviously. So did Jesus, so did all of the prophets. So that's not the issue. The issue is, are we talking about a Tawhid? Are we talking about a Trinity? I just put up a video about the Trinity. It's pretty difficult to read the Bible and not come away, even starting with the book of Genesis, and not come away understanding that there is one God. You have to, that's how, when you're forced to believe that in the Bible. And you're also forced to believe that God is multi-personal. So those are some things that I would suggest, for him to look into and for you guys to look into as well. Like I said, I literally just put out a video right before this about it. The Quran is the preserved word of God. Well, it's a preserved word. I don't think there's any question about that. It's pretty well preserved. I think they've done a very decent job at preserving their word. Is it perfectly preserved? The dot, the jittle, the tittle, all that kind of stuff? No. But I don't really think that means anything else. I mean, Harry Potter is a book that's well preserved, and nobody makes the claim that it's from God. He said that Muhammad is a real historical person. I believe that a lot of people presently are kind of going against that. I don't really think that him being a real man has anything to do with him being a real prophet. I mean, there's plenty of false prophets out there that were real people. And obviously he and I and nobody else, like Joseph Smith or somebody like that, we don't think that they're actually a true prophet. But the issue with the historicity of Muhammad is not necessarily that he or some combination of he or legends grew from a real man. It's the fact that there is literally no Mecca ever at anywhere at all until the late 7th century, early 8th century. They're literally digging up all of the entire city of Mecca, and they have found, or at least not announced, that there's any artifacts. So I would suggest that if Muhammad existed, that he did not exist in Mecca. Um, the one thing that I was going to attack, since I have more time, I can kind of go through his points by point. He was a devout person of God, is what he said. He was a good prophet. He taught his people to do good things and blah 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 blah, all that kind of stuff, right? So let's actually talk about whether or not Muhammad was a good person or not, whether or not he was inspired by the true God. So here's a couple of things, right? So in Ibn Isak's Life of Muhammad, it claims that he actually tortured and killed a man for money. Muhammad married his adopted son's ex-wife and then later abolished adoption. Muhammad ordered the beheading of over 600 Jews. Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl and penetrated her sexually at the age of 9. Muhammad struck Aisha in the chest, which caused her pain. Muhammad likened women to captives and or domesticated animals in his farewell speech. Muhammad made a rule for marrying no more than 4 women, but he himself was married to 9 to 11 women at once. Muhammad allowed for one of his followers to severely beat his wife until her skin turned green, and then offered no correction to the man for striking her harder than tapping her with a toothbrush. And in fact, when you read the story, he actually ends up blaming her for the issue, therefore applying or implying that she was a liar. Muhammad, in fact, himself was a liar, right? So most of us know the story about Muhammad. When he was sleeping with one of his slave girls, he got caught. He promised his wives that he would not have sex with her again until Allah gave him a revelation, and then he married that girl and obviously continued to had sex with her. When Muhammad's adopted son saw that Muhammad lusted after his wife, he offered to divorce her. Muhammad promised that he did not want that woman and then later married her and abolished adoption. Muhammad probably lied when he claimed that God warned him of the poisoned lamb that eventually killed him. Muhammad lied when he claims that semen is formed between the backbone and the ribs. Muhammad lied when he said that shooting stars are really lamps or missiles hurled at jinn by Allah. Muhammad lied about embryology, especially when it comes to the formation of bones and skin, which was supposed to be done simultaneously. The Quran says that the bones are formed first and then are wrapped in skin. And Muhammad lied when he told one of his companions that the sun set into a muddy spring of water. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can think of right now. That's pretty much it on that particular point. That was the one that I was really gonna start to hammer home. Um, Christians judged by the gospel. So he's talking about how the gospel is tampered with and all these kinds of things. So the Quran implies that our Bible was corrupted, but the Quran also emphatically says that we ought to judge what is in the Bible, which is in between his hands, which means that the Bible that was in existence at the time of Muhammad was a true, according to him, true revelation of God. So at the very least, the Quran is contradictory to itself, which therefore proves that it's false. If the Quran is false, that means the messenger of the Quran is also a false prophet. He also mentioned that he talked about the Gabriel situation. So when Gabriel, he said people were afraid of Gabriel, which if he was listening very well to my first thing, and again, it's tough to catch everything in these types of debates. But yes, if a man, sorry, excuse me, or an angel appears to you very quickly, and suddenly you're going to be afraid, right? So that I wasn't focusing on the point that the angel was scary, right? I believe that having an encounter with a spirit being is scary, but I'm talking about the character of the spirit being. The angel of all the angels of God, when they encountered true prophets, were very kind to them, aka saying, "Fear not." Yes, they were afraid. The angels noticed that, recognized that, and offered them peace. However, the angel or the demon that Muhammad encountered physically laid hands on him, which Gabriel has never done, and did not offer him any sort of solace or comfort in that sense. And in fact, when Muhammad ran down the mountain, he was so afraid and trembling that he thought he was attacked by an evil spirit. So, like I said, when it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, sounds like a duck, looks like a duck, all that stuff, it's probably a duck. He thought it was an evil spirit. I think it's an evil spirit. And especially when you take a look at the behavior of Muhammad after he had that encounter, right? So, as far as we know from the sources, Muhammad seemed to be a pretty upright dude up until he had contact with this angel, aka demon, right? So, he was married to one woman. Apparently, he was very trustworthy in his trading with his caravans and stuff like that. He was a well respected person in his community. And then all of a sudden, he has this revelation or this encounter with a demon and then tries to hurl himself off a cliff. I think on 3 different occasions he tries to kill himself when his revelations stop. These are all very common symptoms of people who are possessed by some sort of evil spirit or have encountered some sort of evil spirit. They're so afraid they would rather be dead than to continue living. He was married to one woman, and then he decided that he was going to marry and sleep with multiple women. He was going to tell his men that that adultery is wrong, which I agree with. Right? I think adultery is wrong. That's very biblical. Except if he just didn't say that except part, we wouldn't have to be too terribly worried about it. He said except uh, if your right hand possesses them, right? That's a phrase that means if they're your captive or if they are your slave and they're married, then it's totally lawful for you to sleep with them. Adoption is one of the greatest and most merciful things and giving things that anyone can do, right? To take in an orphan and adopt them and call them your own. And Muhammad decided that he was going to abolish that practice, disallowing anyone who that you take care of to inherit from you. That seems not very merciful to me. So he was a pretty bad dude after he had the encounter with the Gabriel. So I don't want to give away too much more of my arguments. We'll see if Mustafa wants to have this conversation again. Again, guys, please pray for him, pray for peace, pray for comfort, and pray that one day he does come to Christ. I'm not sure if anybody. I really do a terrible job at speaking and looking at the chats here. So if anybody does have any questions they would like to ask, please feel free to at me. If I don't get any questions here, please feel free to feel free to write questions in the comment or anything like that. So that's pretty much all I have. I'm gonna watch the chat here since there's a delay for about 20 seconds and see if anybody said anything. It seems like a lot of people are agreeing, that Muhammad seemed to be pretty mentally unstable. He apparently did a thing that he thought he was doing, but apparently wasn't doing. I think he believed for about a year's period of time that he was having sex with his wives, and as it turns out, he was not. These are not signs of a mentally stable person. I'm not putting him down necessarily because these are real psychological issues that real people have to deal with. But they're not really good signs either that he was a true prophet. I'm not seeing anybody's comments here. Thank you guys so much for watching, for joining. Hopefully, we can have another debate on the topic. If Mustafa doesn't want to have the conversation, I'd be more than happy to have a debate with anybody else. So, thank you guys. May Jesus bless you. For all of you who are saying you're tired, have a great night's sleep. Anybody who else is on different time, enjoy the rest of your day. And, God bless you. Jesus loves you. See you guys.